I'm gonna post a video and pretend like I wasn't gone for I don't know how many weeks, but hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's a new season of GBL and I am super excited about all the move updates. So I am bringing to you guys a video today. I know it's been a while since I posted. It's because I have a million things going on in my life right now. I'm moving countries. I'm working on a huge project that I've been wanting to work on for such a long time, and I decided, you know what, now is the time to start it. If I never start it, or if I don't start it now, I'm never going to start it. So yeah, I've kind of neglected the channel, but also the end of the last GBL season was starting to get a little bit stale for me, and I wasn't really playing any GBL at all. Actually, it might be reflected in some of my battles today because I'm a bit rusty, but taking a break from GBL has been a breath of fresh air. Sometimes you just need to get away from this game to miss it and come back to it to really enjoy playing GBL, and I was really enjoying my battles in the past couple of days, up until, of course, I was going to bring you guys 3 sets today, but in the last set, I got super frustrated because the game lagged at the perfect time in one of my matches, and I ended up losing a match that I think I had a win condition in. And then I was reminded why I needed a mental break from this game, but we are not going to pay too much attention to that. Instead, we're going to look at 2 5-0s that I managed to get with Dedenne with Parabolic Charge and 2 Ghost types on the team. The Ghost types right now are super good in the meta, especially since a lot of bug type moves got buffed. So the Ghosts are going to be resisting your Fury Cutter and Bug Bite users, but so is Dedenne because of its Fairy typing, which is why I think this team is very strong right now. I was considering gatekeeping it and just keeping it to myself. I am afraid of running into a team similar to this because I know how strong this team composition is. Dedenne, Dusclops, and Jellicent have really good synergy with each other because Dedenne is going to be taking care of the dark types for your ghost types that you have in the back, and Dusclops and Jellicent are going to be able to cover the ground types and the poison types that Dedenne is going to be weak to. Now, in terms of this team's weaknesses, the entire team's weak to Crocodile, but let's be honest, no one's running that. And you might also be ABA weak to grass types because Dedenne isn't going to be amazing against like a Superior or a Credilli, especially now because Credilli is running Acid. So grass types you will struggle a little bit against, but against everything else, you're going to be fine. That's all I really have to say about the team, so let's jump into the battles. In this match, we were up against an Azu on the lead, which is a really nice lead for our Dedenne. But then my opponent swapped out into a Dunsparce, and I decided to stay in with my Dedenne against the Dunsparce because I was massively outpacing them to the Parabolic Charge, and Parabolic Charge will buff your defense. It is such a good move. Anyways, we do manage to take the Dunsparce out. We had to double shield, but they double shielded as well. And then Jellicent is basically able to sweep the rest of the opponent's team. Moving on to the next battle, we are going to be up against a Scizor on the lead. Okay, this Pokemon is probably the most annoying Pokemon that I have been running into in the past couple of days, especially against this team because it has access to Night Slash, and those bullet punches are really starting to hurt. Now, the way I've started playing it is instead of staying in with Dedenne, I would swap immediately into my Dusclops, but here I do manage to take both of my opponent's shields and then I swap into Dusclops. I'm okay with taking one Night Slash, but then my opponent swaps out into Blastoise. Okay, I have a shield left. I am not going to use it on the Dusclops. Instead, I'm going to try to damage the Blastoise as much as I can with these Shadow Punches, and I was really hoping I could get the Blastoise into a range where I can come in with Jellicent and completely farm it down. And here I get super greedy, knowing that Jellicent is resisting everything from this Blastoise because I'm assuming it's running Skull Bash, of course. I decide to go for that full farm down anyway, but I really should have just gone for a Surf and taken this Blastoise out before it could get me into the red, because now it's going to be super risky because my opponent's final Pokemon is going to be a Galarian Corsola, but I was expecting here that my opponent brings that Scissor back in, so I had to go for the Surf. Luckily, I still can make it to that Shadow Ball for the Galarian Corsola, and here, again, I get super lucky because I live with 1 HP, but I still make it to that Parabolic Charge. It's enough to take the Corsola out, and we take that win. It was so close. It could have been a much more comfortable matchup for me if I had just not gotten greedy with my Jellicent. But I mean, we still took the win. Moving on to the next battle, we have the Dream Lead. It's going to be Altaria against our Dedenne. Now I do have to watch out for Moonblast because Moonblast is going to be neutral. But I decided to shield the Moonblast because Dedenne is the squishiest Pokemon that I have on the team, and Jellicent and Dusclops are pretty bulky, so I'm hoping that they won't need shields. Also, I was thinking that maybe if I kept Dedenne healthy, then maybe it will be useful for something that my opponent has in the back. However, my opponent has a Whiscash in the back, so I go for that Play Rough, take a shield from my opponent, and then I swap out into my Dusclops. Okay, they swap into a Registeel. This could be bad for our Jellicent, but keeping in mind that they could have access to Zap Cannon, I am going to save that final shield for Jellicent. However, my opponent goes for Flash Cannon, so I'm thinking this could be really good for me if my opponent is running Focus Blast and Flash Cannon, because Jellicent is going to be resisting all of those. Either way, it looks like we're not going to need the Jellicent for this Registeel because we managed to take it out with the Shadow Punch. And then it is going to be our Jellicent up against their Whiscash. I can go ahead and no shield the first Mud Bomb, and then I am going to go for a Surf here, hoping to take my opponent's final shield, but they no shield, and at this point, I just need 2 more Surfs to take this fish out. We take their shield here, and then my opponent for some reason goes for a Blizzard here, probably thinking that it would be enough to KO, but we still make it to that Surf. This is going to be enough to KO the Whiscash, and we take another win there. I'm going to go a little bit off topic here, but aren't the braids super cute? I feel like this is one of the best cosmetic items Pokemon Go has ever released, and I don't usually buy like the outfits or any of the accessories in Pokemon Go because I feel like it's a waste of Pokecoins. I would much rather spend them on raid passes, but these braids are so cute. Anyways, moving on to the next battle, we are going to be up against a Talonflame on the lead. I managed to take both of my opponent's shields with the Parabolic Charges. And then for some reason, I decided to catch the Flame Charge on my Dusclops instead of catching a resisted Flame Charge on my Jellicent. But I guess I was expecting my opponent to have a Grass type in the back because usually a Talonflame lead is going to have a very good answer to a Water type in the back. That's not the case in this matchup. We do manage to draw out a Hakamo-O. We get rid of the Hakamo-O with our Ice Punches from our Dusclops, and then my opponent's final Pokemon is a Fortress. If this Fortress was running Volt Switch, this matchup would be so much better for it. Honestly, I did try out Bug Bite Fortress over the past couple of days, but I think I like it more with the Volt Switch. It has so much more coverage against a lot of Pokemon, especially if you're up against a Talonflame. It's so much better with Volt Switch. Let me know what you guys think, if you like it more with Volt Switch or if you like it more with Bug Bite. Anyways, we managed to take the Fortress out and then take the Talonflame out with our Jellicent. Jellicent, again, sweeping the team. And we get a 5-0 in that set, going undefeated with Dedenne, Dusclops, and Jellicent. Moving on to the next battle, we are going to be up against that really annoying Shadow Scissor on the lead. I am going to go for a Parabolic Charge here, and then I'm going to swap out into my Dusclops, but for some reason, my opponent lets it go, and they go for a Night Slash. I know this is not Trailblaze, so I let it go. I'm able to take the Scissor out, and then my opponent brings in a Diggersby. Okay, I'm just going to save my Dedenne in the back and swap out into my Dusclops. I can go for Ice Punches, which are going to be super effective. However, my opponent swaps out, into a Samurott, another Pokemon that again Jellicent is going to wall. Jellicent this season is extremely strong. Anyways, I'm just going to try to damage the Samurott as much as I can with my Dusclops. It looks like we are going to take both of our opponent's shields, and I have 2 shields left. Okay, I think I remember this match. I was like, I'm gonna 2-shield flex, and I'm sorry. Okay, BMing is fun sometimes, but I go for a surf here, get rid of the Samurott, and then I decide I'm not gonna shield anything. I genuinely wanted to see if I could win this matchup without shielding anything, so I let the Scorching Sands go. I'm gonna go for a surf here, and then I am going to swap out into my Dusclops. And I think we actually survive the Fire Punch here, so I can go for an Ice Punch, take the Diggersby out, and take that win with all 3 Pokemon alive and both of my shields still up. I'm sorry to my opponent, but I really wanted to see if I could do that. Moving on to the next battle, we're going to get a terrible lead of Toxtricity. This thing absolutely walls Dedenne, so I swap immediately into Dusclops, and we draw out a Feraligatr. Okay, I think the way... Oh, no, not this match. There's another match where it looks like I don't know how to play the game. But here we are fine. Dusclops is very spammy, and we even live the Hydro Cannon to make it to another Shadow Punch, and we take the Feraligatr out. We even got a shield from them, which is amazing. And now I am going to bring in Jellicent. Now, I have to watch out for a Wild Charge or a Discharge from the Toxtricity, so I do go ahead and shield. Unfortunately for me, it ends up being a resisted Power Up Punch, which is really annoying, but I still am able to make it to 2 surfs for this Toxtricity, take them out, and then my opponent's final Pokemon is a Swampert with Sludge and Hydro Cannon. So this is the best case scenario for my Jellicent. I am going to go for a Shadow Ball, but then my opponent realizes that they're just going to lose this because they have no shields left. I have a shield left, and they go ahead and they top left. On to the next battle, we're going to get a really nice lead of Blastoise, but my opponent swaps out immediately into a Dedenne of their own. And this is the match where it looks like I do not know how to play. I stay in with my Dedenne. I should have just built up to the play rough instead of doing whatever I am doing here and going straight Parabolic Charge. And here I was sure that I was going to get a shield from my opponent, but they went ahead and no shielded as well. And then I end up taking the play rough. This is so messy. I should have just swapped out immediately into my Dusclops as soon as I saw the Dedenne, because I know that Jellicent is going to be able to handle the Blastoise even if I don't win switch. But we do whatever we do there. The Dedenne is out of the way, and it looks like my opponent's final Pokemon is a Credilli, which is going to be very tough for me to handle. I swap out into Dusclops, and my opponent brings that Blastoise back out, so now I'm gonna have to handle the Credilli with Jellicent and Dedenne. Not great, but I do bring in Jellicent here. I save my Dusclops with a little bit of health in the back just in case I need to go for an Ice Punch against their Credilli. I am going to go for a Shadow Ball here. My opponent lets it go. They are in the yellow now, and I'm just going to let my Jellicent go. I know that I could get to a move on Dusclops and hopefully take my opponent's final shield here. I end up getting a win condition here because, okay, we take their final shield. My opponent swaps out into Blastoise and throws their energy, and I will be able to farm my opponent down here and get a play rough for their Credilli. So we go ahead and use our final shield. I can go for that play rough, and it is going to be enough to KO their final Pokemon. And somehow, even though we played that terribly, we take that win. Moving on to the next match, we're going to get a terrible lead of Marowak. So I am going to swap immediately into my Dusclops. For the most part, Dusclops is your safe swap. And we draw out an Araquanid, which is not an answer to Dusclops. Again, we are resisting those bug bites, and we took a shield from our opponent. So I am just going to start spamming out these Shadow Punches. This is going to go on for quite a while. My opponent was able to debuff us with Bubble Beam, and it looks like they are running Bubble Beam and Water Pulse, which makes sense since Bug Bite was buffed. The damage on Bug Bite was buffed. You don't really need that Bug Buzz damage anymore, so you can just go ahead and run a debuff move, which is going to be that Bubble Beam and the Water Pulse. Now here I do decide to use a shield on Dusclops because I know that I could get rid of this Araquanid and I can win switch, and then I can align my Jellicent to their Marowak. So we take that switch. I blindly throw the Ice Punch, expecting my opponent to bring in Marowak, but it was a Golisopod. Thankfully, we still reach a Shadow Punch for the Golisopod, and I just let my opponent catch the Parabolic Charge on Marowak. I should have called that when I realized that my opponent wasn't throwing a move from Golisopod. So they catch our move, really well played to my opponent, and then I am going to bring in Jellicent here. I can go for a Surf. It's not enough to KO, but it puts them in a range where I can farm them down with Jellicent and come out of this matchup with energy for their Golisopod. So I can go for a Shadow Ball to hopefully get my opponent's final shield. Yes, otherwise it would have KO'd. And Dedenne should be able to survive an Aqua Jet. We even have a shield left for the little electric mouse. We live that Aqua Jet, and then my opponent realizes that I am going to make it to that Parabolic Charge, so they go ahead and they top left. Moving on to the final battle of the video, we are going to be up against a Shadow Gligar on the lead. Not a great lead for us, but I am going to build up a little bit of energy on Dedenne and then swap out into Dusclops, and that energy comes in useful in the end. So my opponent swaps out here into a Bronzong, which is not an answer to Dusclops, probably expecting to catch an Ice Punch from Dusclops, but I do go for that Shadow Punch, and they don't even make it to a move. I did try Bronzong with Metal Sound on the first day of GBL. I didn't like it a lot. Maybe I didn't build a good team around it, but we are able to get rid of that Bronzong, and then we can take a shield from the Gligar when we go for that Ice Punch. Now here I do decide to shield the dig just so that I can preserve health on Jellicent, because I'm expecting that whatever my opponent has in the back, that maybe Jellicent will be good against it. It ends up being a Dragalge, and they catch the Surf, so well played to my opponent. But here I can go for a Shadow Ball, take my opponent's final shield, and I know that I will be able to survive an Outrage. We'll make it to that Shadow Ball, which will KO the Dragalge, and then I can save my final shield for Dedenne and go for a Play Rough against Gligar, which is gonna be enough to KO. That is going to be the end of our video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, sorry for not posting for a long time, but in the coming few months, my videos are going to be spaced out quite a bit because, like I said, I'm moving and I am working on a few projects of my own. So I'm not going to have as much time to dedicate to the channel, unfortunately. But thank you for watching either way, and if you guys like my content, please consider subscribing, maybe leave a like, it helps me out so much. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye bye!